Hey, what's up? This is Topazult, and let's see what we're going to talk about. What are we going to talk about? Well, this is something I wanted to do for a while. I actually kind of like had it written out, and I think it'll be kind of useful. I think it'll be useful for the majority of the people who will check out this post. What it is what is a good music production unit, like box, maybe slash groove box type of instrument, like a synth, maybe sampler slash drum machine, whatever it may be, that kind of like falls in the line of a groove box music production unit. And this is basically what is a good music production unit for a beginner or somebody who's on a budget. Okay, now back in the day, it was all about Roland and the groove box. Now this was like the mid '90s, late '90s, early 2000s, and Roland was making some noise with the groove box. Their first unit, the groove box, was the MC303, and it was the hype back in those days. They continued on with the MC groove box units, and they didn't really hold up to what what the hype was when they originally first came out, the MC303. And Roland kind of fell off, and but they got back into the game. They're back in the hype of things with the eras, and especially the boutiques. They're making a lot of noise right now. People are really getting excited with a lot of the new boutique series that are coming out, and they just they're coming out with new exciting things almost every year. And of course they're revitalizing their old units, which really made Roland a musical electronic standard back in the days. But still, bringing back those units and making them more affordable, and they pretty much sound the same. They're back in the hype of things. Now, back in my day, it was all about Roland and the groove box, and it made sense for me. My first box actually was a used TR-707. This was about 1999 or so. I sold that, and eventually I got a Korg EA1. It had just came out, and it was actually the first electribe that Korg introduced, and that was just a synthesizer, an analog synthesizer. And the price on that wasn't too much. It was fine for me, but I was set on getting the MC303 because I hadn't, I didn't have the MC303 yet, but it was really on my mind. So, I had the TR-707, and that introduced me to Roland and the sequencer and drum sounds. And, but it was only a drum machine. So, eventually I got the Korg EA1. And, I was really pleased with that. It had a really like rugged, well, I mean, you can still check it out. It has this distinctive sound. And back in that day, it was an analog synth. And, it had that sound. It followed up. It had... it had a 303, TB303 feel to it, but yet it was Korg. Now, I was still set on getting the MC303 because I didn't, that's what I really wanted. It was the all-in-one unit. And that was me. It had everything I needed: a sequencer, drum machine, and synth sounds. It wasn't a synthesizer, but it had, it was like kind of like a Rompler. It had synth sounds inside of it. And this was fine for me. And especially, at this time, everybody was about the MPC. Everybody was, it was almost like a standard. You were making music, you needed an MPC. But that wasn't in my budget. MPCs were, they're quite expensive. And this was back in the day. So, so eventually I did get the MC303. And I stuck with it for quite a while until eventually I sold it. But those few pieces of gear set it all off for myself. And since then, I've had about maybe 4 or 5 303s come and go. But, the MC303 was an awesome box back in the day. So if you're all new to this, or maybe you just kind of like have a budget and you want to get into music production, and you want to know which music production unit, what I personally think is worth it, surprisingly, is the MC303. It still has a little value. You could get it for really cheap, but you're gonna want you're going to want a good unit at least, if not in great condition, unless if you're handy and you can fix electronics. And this even goes for the 505, the 307, the 808, and so on. Those are the other MC Groovebox units. They cost a little bit more, but the 303, you know, you could still possibly get one of those for around $100. And the 303, it will sound a little dated, especially the presets, and it's packed with tons of presets, and you can't erase those. And that was the kind of like the bummer of the MC303, because it had so many presets and you couldn't erase them, so it took up all the memory. But those sounds, you know, they came from the classic instruments that many people today still drool over, like the Juno, the TR-808, the 707, the TB-303, the 606, the 101, even the CR-78. Now, all those sounds, you know, a little bit of those sounds can be, you know, they're in the MC303. There aren't too many editing parameters, but there is an LFO and an arpeggiator. And so about 100 or 200 bucks, you could get a little over 400 sounds, and it's not bad of a deal, especially for a newbie. Now let's move on to the next. Like the MC303 with about over 400 sounds comes my next pick. I would say it's about like an overhauled or more updated version of the MC303, if you think about it, just a little. And that's the Korg Electra 2. Some people badmouth it, but it does so much, others don't. And for about 300 or 400 bucks, new or used, it's not a bad deal at all for a newbie or even somebody experienced. Pack inside are tons of waveforms from Korg's King Chord synth, plus drums, percussion, stabs. It even has an M1 piano. It has a nice chord play feature, a sequencer, chaos pad effects, modulation parameters, and several filters emulating well-known gear like Moog and Roland, to name a few. There's an audio in to play with other gear. It's a MIDI controller that even the chord feature works on. You can even hack the Electra 2 into a full-blown sampler, which is actually the Electra 2 sampler. So if you get the synth, you can actually hack the firmware to turn it into the Electra sampler. And it works with Ableton Live, and it has kind of like a stem feature for live. And I think this was even before stems came out or was introduced with you know, native instruments. Another big plus is that it's slim and it could run on batteries. All right, so there's more it offers, and for a few $100s, it's pretty much a beast. Even for someone beginning with synths, it's not a bad starter. Now I'm going to move on to the next pick, and this pick is the Critter and Guitari Organelle. Now the Organelle is different from any other thing you may have used recently or in the past. It's a little box that runs patches. Think of it like a little computer running VSTs inside of it. In fact, it is a computer. You can actually literally hook a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor to it and program your own patches to play on it. Whether it's a synth, a sampler, a sequencer, a drum machine, a vocoder, an effects processor, you can do it on the Organelle. It's really cool. You just need to know how to program in the program Pure Data. It's like Max for Live without the GUI. You actually have to you know, you have to actually know programming, like you know, with the text, and you know, doesn't have a graphic GUI or anything. So yes, it is scripting with diagrams. Basically, that's what it is. But it sounds so cool. Patches can be downloaded and used from a community of online patch makers, and most of them work pretty much fine. Some have their kinks, but for the most part, many of these patches work great. And don't worry, the Organelle comes with presets to get going quickly right out of the box. Plus, the firmware has been updated, so you can have something like an 8-page menu of edits for things like a polysynth. There are 4 edit knobs, so generally 8 pages would be like 28 knobs. The Organelle is not just cool, but fun. It's so different, it's easy to appreciate. Even for a beginner, this is a great tool to learn synths. And some presets are like the Juno 6, an FM preset patch, a Moog, a Rhodes, an analog, and bass. Those are some of the patches that you could get in an Organelle and you can actually play with. And I don't know, but the Organelle sounds just like, it has this texture, and it sets it apart from other synths and drum machines. It's definitely worth checking out for a couple $100. It literally becomes your own instrument and is always updating with new unexpected things. So the Organelle, go check that out. It's not really too much. I mean, you could get one for about $400, but definitely you're going to be spending under $500. It's a few $100s, but you got to think about it. This thing does so much, and it's always, I mean, people are always making new patches, or you can make your own patches. So the possibilities with the Organelle is almost endless. And, you know, it's a really cool machine. It's actually really worth the or, you know, even if you buy a new one, $500. But, you know, the price, you can find a good deal on one, and it's really cool. So my next pick is the Volca Sample. The Volca Sample is inexpensive and highly regarded by many still today. It's small, runs on batteries, and has a small speaker. You could take it on the go, record sounds on your phone, and easily plug it into the Volca and transfer those samples. The Volca holds up to 100 samples and can be programmed on a very powerful step sequencer. You can save 10 patterns of 10 parts that can be one-shots or loops. They can be pitched, skewed, and reversed. There is a nice high-cut filter, a reverb, and a bass and treble isolator as effects with a few amp parameters that surprisingly could get tricks done with the use of motion sequencing. It is digital and sounds really good and punchy. Paired with the other Volcas priced right, you have a nice setup. Not bad, while the other Volcas can add analog and FM touch to your sampler creations. It's perfect for a beginner or a regular. And it's so cheap. I mean, you could get it for under $200. You'll be very lucky to get it for under $100. But even at $100, being portable and the way it sounds, it's good. It's really great. And even if you're already into music production and you have several other pieces of gear, you work with computers or VSTs, the Volca Sample is a really sweet touch to add into your gear. So there's a plane flying over, but I'm gonna move on to the next one, and the next one happens to be from Roland again. It's the Boutique series, and actually I'm also gonna throw in the Yamaha Reface. They've revitalized their trademark successful synths into smaller units. Both brands are really known for their marks in electronic music, especially Roland for their drum machines. Really, no matter which unit you decide to get from the Boutique series, you're going to have a blast learning and operating the unit. With Yamaha and the Reface series, it's a bit bigger in the size because they are mini keyboards, but really not that much compared to the Boutiques. If you decide to get a Roland Boutique, you should decide soon because they are limited editions, and after that, you will have to find used units. But Roland still continues to add to the series even to this day. They recently released the analog SE02 along with the TB03 and the TR09 drum machine. And very recently, they announced the release of the TR808 and SH01 versions coming soon. All these, including the Reface, have great editing parameters to get that perfect sound you're looking for in a classic way. You really can't go wrong with if you happen to pick one of or even a few of these up. The synths go great with the drum machine or something to add to your arrangement. The price really can't be compared being new or used, going anywhere from just $200, $300, and you're getting the high most standard and classic electronic sounds. Now, all these machines I just talked about are great choices if you're shopping and have a budget. If you choose one, you're definitely staying under the $500 mark. And if you plan on buying more than one, you can still stay in a comfortable price range. So I hope this was helpful in any way. And whatever you decide to get, remember, it's all about having fun. And of course, you got to shop around. And there are many ways, with the internet to find, really good deals on any of this gear. So I hope, this can be helpful for you. If you're looking for something on a budget, or you know, you want something new and you have a budget, or you want to learn synthesizers or even sampling, I think any of those that I just mentioned, I think they're, you know, there's something that you should to think about pretty much. Some of them have been around for a few years. Some of them are still pretty new, but you know, the prices are really right. You know, a few $100s for, or even $100 on some of these pieces of gear, you can't really go wrong, especially if you have a budget. And you know, if you happen to pick one of these up, you're definitely going to have a good time with them. And that's the main focus, is to have fun, you know, making music. So I hope this happens to help you out. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave them. You know, try to stay cool and all that. But you know, I like to hear what you guys say. It's all cool and it's all good. So this is Topazult. I'm out.